And welcome back to the Splitting Hairs podcast presented by Jackrabbit Illustrated. We are live tonight, and I am in Florida, and Chad is in Hartford, and
South Hartford, but yeah.
Yeah, South Hartford. Okay,
Splitting hairs on that.
Splitting hairs. There we go. And so we are excited to be with you tonight, live again. Not on our usual Sunday night, but on Monday night instead. So having exciting, lots of news today. The MVFC gave out their awards. We got a preview. Delaware, we have to look at some of the games this past weekend. So lots to get to. So Chad, how the heck are you?
Not too shabby, Matt. Been busy. That's about all I can say. Been really busy. It's been hectic, and we leave on Friday to go out to Vegas. And I'd like to say it's to go out for the Cliff Keen wrestling tournament, but no, not that. I'd like to say it's for National Rodeo Finals, but no, not that.
Not that.
Going to watch George Strait.
Okay.
And because those other things are going on, it's really expensive.
Yeah. Well, cool. I've always wanted to see George Strait in concert, so pretty jealous about that. So
yeah, he's not going to tour forever, and so that was supposedly he was done touring, right? So
yeah, right, yeah.
And I'm just hitting my mic with my hat here. So that was why we decided to try and sneak one in Vegas. We get a chance to go to Vegas, but we planned that back in August, not thinking that's going to be the second round of the playoffs.
Right.
We're going to be playing. And
it happens, buddy. It happens. So cool.
I can't even blame anyone else for putting a damn wedding on it. I know. I just messed up.
And that's what I'm doing, is going to a wedding. My wife's cousin's getting married. So
tell us a little bit about what's going on in the background there and what you're doing.
Yeah, sorry. You might hear some background noise. I'm down in Florida just for fun with a family vacation. It's my wife's whole family, siblings, kids, all that. So you hear my kids, my nieces and nephews all jumping in the pool. It's pretty wild there. So Dakota Marker preview, Chad.
I know. I bumped it.
So
it's not. I'm sorry. I'm trying to edit it.
I usually do that. So
yeah.
So
thanks for pointing it out. That helps.
No, it's all good. Sorry, man. This our show tonight brought to you by Drake's Place out in Bowdle. Thank you, Drake's, for your delicious food, drinks. When you head out that way, whether it's hunting, fishing, traveling for the holidays, stop in and get all your goods that you need, and they'll hook you up. So really appreciate them. And also Cottonwood. Cottonwood coffee, just delicious. Being away from home and not being able to drink Cottonwood this week has made me appreciate them even more. They're just delicious. If I'd been thinking, I would have packed some beans, had for everyone down here, just because, man, it is the best coffee you can have. And if you get to Brookings early, get some breakfast or get some lunch if you're not tailgating, but I would encourage tailgating on Saturday, of course. And
bring a heater.
Yep.
Dress appropriately.
Yep.
Put some walls on your tent.
And it's not even going to be that bad, really.
Yeah.
Upper 20s. So, heck yeah. But again, Cottonwood Coffee discount, 10% off. Use the code JI22. As Brendan says, some exclusions may apply. So
yeah, it looks like Tim Goldhammer's going to be there. He wants to ask you a question here. I don't know. Can you read that, Matt? He asked, did Matt say he was growing out his beard to the length of Chad's beard? And I don't know. It looks good on him. I told him pre-show. It's a good look. Okay, so maybe it's a little more patchy from the sides.
It's a little patchy. Yep, the sides are patchy.
Straight on looks great, though.
Yeah, straight on looks great.
A little
Just
bit,
don't turn my head.
Look like a little bit like Wayne Sendelbach, if you know that dude. Yeah, he's got the similar beard.
But... Okay. No, I intend to shave this on Friday. When I'm done with No Shave November and we're done with our work contest. So, yeah. I might keep the mustache, though.
Jace Holtenbeck's going to be there. Tim says it needs a little bit of work. Haha. But, of course, like I told you before the show, get to 40. It'll fill out.
There we go. Goals. All right. Let's get into this.
Sorry, I've got a little bit of B team in me at all times.
No, I know. We all have a little bit of B team in us, right? So,
oh my.
All right. So Missouri Valley Awards were announced today. So this is incredibly exciting. Coach Stig was named Coach of the Year, and it's really well deserved. I didn't take the time to go back and look. Has he ever won this award before? Does anyone know?
I
I
think
would assume so at
did he
some
get
point.
it during the spring season?
Probably, but this seems just incredibly well deserved. For going undefeated, as we've talked about with this road schedule, and just not having the drop off game, the letdown game, whatever you want to call it, made it through the Valley schedule undefeated. That's pretty darn impressive. So, yeah, I think he had to be the no brainer, right, for that.
For definitely for the league, if not potentially outside of Eck in the country. I think Eck did it. I mean, sorry, I'm going a little bit off on a tangent, but I think Eck kind of got shafted by not getting a mention. But
I think he should have been a finalist or a semifinalist, whatever they were, like for sure.
Yeah,
I think. Yep. First team running backs. Isaiah Davis was the running back, or was a running back with Jaleel McLaughlin of YSU, who ended up being the offensive player of the year and setting the NCAA career rushing record. Will likely do that for anyone. So good job, Jaleel.
Yeah, he willed his team to a couple of victories. So
yeah,
I'd say definitely,
yep,
kind of their main weapon.
Yep. In semi-controversial fashion, Tucker Kraft was the tight end, the first team tight end. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Offensive line, Greenfield and McCormick, who we expected, and Caleb Sanders and Winkleman on the defensive line. Again, pretty expected, right? Reese Winkleman. Bach at linebacker, maybe a bit of surprise, seeing how he only played half the year, but that's pretty cool and shows the level of respect that folks have for him across the conference. And then the one I'm just like beyond proud about, and I've talked about this, Deshaun Gales at cornerback. He was the only cornerback to make the first team. The other three defensive backs were safeties. So
nice.
Tutsi, Weber, and Sapp, the third. So that's pretty cool. On second team, Gronowski was second team quarterback, Jackson at wide receiver, and then Zach Hines at tight end. And here's, their teammates, they love each other. It's the best room. Hines had better stats across the board than Kraft. That's, and he played the whole year. That's my only exception. I understand that Tucker is going to be a first, second, third round draft pick, somewhere in there, a top 100 pick. I just think, Zach did the whole for the whole season. So, and that's nothing against Tucker. He was hurt, right? It happens.
Right. I mean, it's a body of work for the season.
Yes.
Not your NFL potential, which obviously the scouts see. Right?
Yep, exactly. Jaden Yankee for being the returner or punt returner for half the year, was second team return specialist. That's awesome. And then honorable mention, Dallas Beanham, Jason Freeman, Hunter Dustman, and Jaden Yankee at wide receiver. So pretty cool to see all them get recognized as well. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of MVPs in our league, and my wife's certainly one of my MVPs.
There we go.
You don't know when it's coming. It just shows up.
Yeah, right? Yeah, you're like the pudding shot Santa. She's like the, what could we say, the drink tooth fairy or something like that?
I was going to say the old-fashioned fairy.
Yeah, the old-fashioned fairy. Sure. There we go.
Rick Jensen had mentioned that in 2016, Stig won Coach of the Year in the conference. That seems right. That was a good year. We beat NDSU up there. That's probably what really won that.
Yeah.
Randy Jacobs points out, glad to see Freeman and Beanham get recognized. And those guys have been playing really, really good. Freeman's a mature player, plays his tail off, and not that Dallas doesn't. That's not what I'm getting at. But he's got really some room to grow, I think Dallas does. He does some really good things, and occasionally it seems like there's maybe a little bit of a lapse in an assignment from time to time. Doesn't always cost us, but I think he's got a lot of room to grow.
Yeah. The one player that I am, Brendan, the the one player I'm disappointed didn't make it is Kobe Herter. I mean,
Right.
I honestly, you look at his stats, he's just as good, if not better, than Tootsie and Weber. Sapp, I think, is in an elevated league of his own at that safety position. But I mean, Kobe Herter is going to have his chance, I guess, next year with all three of those guys gone. That's for sure.
And I think there's times when they just don't include everybody because they can't, right? So they got to draw the line somewhere, and a lot of times that line is upperclassmen get it, lowerclassmen, unless they completely stand out, don't.
Yep, exactly. And you look at those all conference lines on both sides, it's all seniors. Like it just it's pretty funny. So yeah, that's interesting. What else? I mean, I'm really happy Jackson was still recognized at wide receiver and Jaden with honorable mention, even though their stats probably aren't what they wanted at the start of the year. It's just this balanced offense the Jacks run. They're not gonna rely on everyone, or on one person to have a Jake Winicky 1,300-yard season or whatever he had there a couple times.
And I'll say it. I know I've said it before. I don't know if it was on here or on the B team, but those guys block so well, and that's not a stat that flies off the page. Well, that's something that an NFL scout would see, or a coach would see recruiting a kid. They block so well, just amazingly well. In fact, it angers the CBs a lot of time, right?
Yeah. So. That was you and I, right? When Jaden motioned into the backfield and lined up at fullback.
Yes.
And sealed off the hole there. That was awesome. All right. Should we talk about playoffs? What is this?
Do you want to talk about the FCS playoff round 1? Recap it a little bit here.
Yeah.
How about we pull that up?
Yeah, pull up a bracket.
You want the bracket? Okay, hold on just a second. Official bracket.
I mean, we can talk about
there we go.
Yeah, right now. So really
I can zoom in a little bit more, but it kind of cuts off the other side. But
what we kind of saw
State side, so
right? What we kind of saw was really what honestly we should have expected on my personal bracket. My personal bracket's ugly because I went with my heart on a lot of these versus my head, not taking into consideration travel, not taking into consideration really like how good are some of these teams coming out of some of these conferences. The one, scroll down to Gardner-Webb, because that's the one that shocked me
so
right now.
Gardner-Webb was a shock. Weber State was maybe, I don't know, closer than I thought it was going to be.
Closer than it should have been.
Closer than it should have been. I had Weber. Furman was maybe a little bit of an upset. Not a big one, really. Idaho, I had them going one more round. That was kind of a shock to me, and they almost pulled off the comeback. That was a heck of a game to watch.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you. I picked Idaho. I thought Idaho would win, but for me, I didn't take into consideration that's a long trip, off of a holiday weekend for a team that has zero playoff experience on their roster for the most part. So. Like, I really think that has to be taken into consideration when I do this in future years, or make my bracket picks. Like, that's a long pick on a holiday weekend and then a team that, again, has no experience in the playoffs. So, besides what Eck can tell them, Furman looked really good. Yeah,
Furman did look good, They're a solid team. We've known that all year. They've been in the top 25 most of the year, right? So,
yeah. I am disappointed Fordham couldn't beat New Hampshire because I really wanted to see Holy Cross for Fordham again, and now that makes me question if Holy Cross can beat New Hampshire. How good's New Hampshire?
Potentially better than we might think.
Yeah, it's all about matchups. So
it is about matchups, and the one that really surprised me was this one over here, Montana, Southeast Missouri. What a crazy game! That game was insane too. We had a couple different insane games.
Yep.
That was one of them. And I was falling asleep watching it on my tablet, and Montana was just getting their butts kicked in. I fell asleep for about, 20 minutes, and I woke up and I was awake. So I came into this room and went to lay down, and I turned the game back on for something to pass out to. and they had just returned that kick return,
Yep.
and they were driving, and then they got the touchdown, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is a game.
Yeah.
And wow, I just can't believe Southeast Missouri just ran out of gas. That's what it had to be. They just ran out of gas. It reminds me of we don't talk about
Don't
Bruno.
talk about it. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah.
What's the bottom half of that bracket?
The bottom half of that bracket is going to be UIW, Furman, Sacramento State, and Richmond. And Davidson. I mean, we knew they weren't gonna. I mean, they got blanked.
Yeah,
that's kind of surprising.
Yeah,
but Elon didn't put up much points either.
Yeah, Davidson puts up points like crazy every year in the regular season, and I think this is their second year in a row they've gotten blanked in the playoffs. So it just, I mean, the Pioneer League sucks, and so everyone's pumped and excited about St. Thomas. Like, just pump the brakes. Like, St. Thomas is going to be great for the Pioneer League.
Yeah.
But they're going to be a basketball school. They're not going to pour a ton of resources into getting into football, like getting into the Missouri Valley. I just don't see that happening. Someone had a
unless
good post
they decide to.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're a basketball school. That they're going to put their money into that.
It costs a ton of money to go there, right? It's like $65,000-$70,000 a year to go to St. Thomas. Like, they can't afford that in scholarships. Like,
yeah, and I don't know if that's an Augie situation where like nobody actually pays that, but I don't know. It's one of them private schools, and it's a real nice campus.
It's an awesome campus. Yeah, I mean,
nice
and it has a nice. I mean, the stadium itself is small, but it has like a charm to it too. Like, it's, I don't know. So I mean, they're going to be great for the Pioneer League, but everyone needs to pump their brakes on them about being a Valley Power, in 5 years. Like, that's not happening. So
no, especially when you consider the scholarship thing. So.
Yeah. I mean, Davidson just proves it. Like, I don't know. Sorry, this is a big tangent here.
No, that's fine. I'm a tangent guy, my ADD, I can think about 3 things at once. I just can't focus on any one of them. Josh Hoffman asked if Richmond has any chance to beat Sac State. My answer is no. Simply put, no. I mean, St. Thomas is all in on hockey. Jace, I guess that's not surprising. It's another one of those sports where you can not have the huge spend, and hockey's huge in Minnesota. So.
Minnesota, there's tons of kids that want to play. So I think for Richmond, maybe. Like, I'd say a maybe, Josh. Chad says no. I'm saying a maybe. No. Like, of course there's a chance, but again, got to take into the travel considerations. Richmond hasn't really been in the playoffs in a while. Sac State's hungry to prove that they can actually win. So they have a chance, but I wouldn't put a ton of money on them to win it. That's for darn sure.
Which seeded team is most likely to lose this weekend? Let's look at that. We have Samford, North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Holy Cross, William and Mary, Montana State, Sacramento State, UIW. Matt, who do you like in that?
I mean, I'm putting Holy Cross on upset alert.
Are you? Holy Cross. Okay.
For New Hampshire there. Yeah. Like that.
I don't know. For me, Montana State, Weber. I mean, that game during the regular season could have went the other way.
Hey, did you see Montana State's defensive coordinator suspended for this game too?
I did.
Like personal matters or whatever?
Yeah. I didn't catch exactly what it was. I kind of caught a secondhand comment on what it might have been, so I won't comment. But yeah. It sounded like he did something he shouldn't have.
Oh yeah, huh? Yeah. Broke a clipboard.
Yeah, broke a clipboard or window in the Fargo Dome. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good question, William. Good question.
Samford's a really good team. I don't think they lose to Southeastern Louisiana, but Idaho, I thought, had their number and didn't. Montana, if they can run the ball really well, NDSU might be in trouble, but I don't think that's
Montana is going to have to prove to me that they can stop the run, for a full game. I think NDSU, what's Lupke's status? He's playing, I'm assuming.
I haven't heard.
Yeah.
I don't
he's
doubt
banged
that
up
he
going
is.
in the last week. So
You're right.
Yeah.
I don't think they tell us one way or another. So
Yeah.
he's got to be playing. It's playoffs. I would think that if their current stable of running backs gets it done without him, he may not play.
Yep.
But, and we'll just see.
Holy cross. Jeez. Okay.
Seth Meyer thinks he's out.
Ooh, Seth. All right.
And Rick Jensen, our buddy Rick says
Yep.
Lipke's unlikely to play. So there you go.
Okay.
I think there's some inside information there.
Terrific, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Again, I haven't been following Twitter too closely the last couple of days down here. Been on a beach. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, thanks for continuing to point that out. That it's not terrible where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jace Hollenbeck said he didn't expect to see him.
Take with a grain of salt. Yeah. Ents wouldn't lie to us, would he?
I don't know if that guy's. Nah, never mind. I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say.
All right.
I will not say that.
Yeah.
Attendance did seem down. Jim's got a bit of a point here. He says attendance is an issue again this year for the playoffs. Montana State versus SEMO, 13-3-9. Eastern Kentucky, Garner and Wed, just shy of 5,000. Delaware St. Francis, just over 4,500. Weber State versus North Dakota, which is there's a bit of a controversy there. 4,495. Yeah, not big crowds. I would sure like to see our crowd show out and get at least 4,000 people.
Yep.
What do you think? What do you think we should expect? I mean,
oh man,
not what we expect, but reality.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think we're actually going to get? What we expect is more than we get.
It's just tough around the holidays, right? There's just there's a lot. We're starting to get into kids sports more and more. 6,000, 7,500, like somewhere in that range. I think 6,000 is a floor, and I'd love to see 8,000 to 10,000. I think that'd be great. So,
I mean, the people just don't realize the quality of football.
Totally.
The casual fan, I think, doesn't. The people that haven't came, the people that have caught one game, maybe don't have a complete grasp on it. The average fan probably does. But again, like you're saying, it's hard this time of the year to get out to these games for a lot of people. They have other commitments, and it sucks. They really deserve more. Preston McGoy has a question here. Do you guys feel like Delaware is a better team than they were during the spring season?
Yeah, that's our cue to transition. Let's transition.
That's a good transition right there.
All right, so let's talk about Delaware and opponent preview.
Right? I mean, I shouldn't put up Dakota Marker preview.
Yeah, who are we sponsoring? Who's our sponsor for opponent preview?
Dakota Iron.
Dakota Iron, yes. So I've got down here. Yeah, you do it, Chad.
Yeah, Dakota Iron, your go-to for all your large equipment needs. If you need a tractor, a backhoe, a track hoe, whatever you need, a bobcat, he can find it. Their slogan is "We dig deeper," meaning they find you what you need and get you what you're looking for. So hit up John. I hear he does a great job. Dakota Iron, they're on West 12th Street. You can find them on the internet. So they're our Delaware preview sponsor. So thanks, Dakota Iron. We appreciate you.
Perfect. So Delaware, good question, Preston. And I hear your cousin, your nephew, may be close to returning. So excited about that. So Delaware is 8-4 on the year, 4-4 in the CAA. Huge win this last week against St. Francis University, again an NEC school, 56-17. St. Francis punted 9 times and was 3 of 16 on third down. And that pretty much tells the story of the game right there. Like, they just couldn't sustain anything and move the ball on this very good Delaware defense. To get to your question, are they better? I would say yes. They are a much better passing team. Right. And I think that has to do with their head coach who came in last year, Ryan Carty, who was the Sam Houston offensive coordinator when we played them in the national championship game. And we do know from scouting Sam Houston how dynamic they were with a dual threat quarterback like Eric Schmid. We did not get to see the true dynamics of their offense, just like they didn't get to see ours due to the weather. But this offense, we know, wants to spread the ball around, get you in space, create lanes for Henderson to run through. And again, they're going to kind of, do a fast break offense where they're just going to pass the ball. Let's get into this a little bit. They have 3 wide receivers with over 574 receiving yards. So Jordan Townsend's one, Harvin, and then Pitts all have a ton of receptions, 6 touchdowns, 9 touchdowns, or 7 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns. Then they have another receiver with 37 receptions for 467 yards. They are going to spread the ball around, passing it. Nolan Henderson looks very good this year. 3,200 passing yards, 32 TD, 9 interceptions, and 343 gross rushing yards. So he is still dangerous on the ground. I remember that from the playoff game. That's how he kept getting whacked, is when he got out of the pocket. He was getting smoked. But he still did break contain on us a number of times in that playoff game that we won 33-3 or whatever it was.
33-3, yep.
But he talked about in the his post-game press conference, he really wants to play the Jacks again and wants to prove that they're a better team than they were in the semifinals. Chad, what do you got? What are you thinking about these guys?
Well, they are missing their star running back they had the last time we played them. To be fair, he was hurt, so I don't know. You pointed out Jordan Townsend, Pitts, Buckman, and Harvin, and that's basically what makes their engine go on offense. Obviously, Nolan Henderson, because he's the one throwing them the ball. Jace Holenbeck brings up a good point. 3 stats. The Fightin Hens, the Fightin Blue Hens. It's fighting. Just make sure you look it up. It's fighting, not fighting. They don't stop people in the red zone. They don't score in the red zone. They also have a negative turnover margin. And that was something looking through the stats that jumped off the page for me. They average 275 yards basically per game in the pass, only 138 on the ground. I don't think they usurp 100 yards on the ground against us. Just being honest, I don't think their rushing game's that great to do that. And we've stopped better teams. Better rushing attacks. So it's going to be on our secondary, and I don't know. I think if we can get some pressure at the front 4, then that frees up the linebackers to help in coverage, and our guys are pretty good in coverage. I think it might be a long day for them, honestly. Maybe. Yeah. They've got a lot of talent though, so I don't want to sell them short. When we were talking beforehand, if you look at let me scroll up here a little bit. You look at they were 4-4 in their conference, right? Yep. They have a big win at Navy, who's FBS. I'm a Navy fan. I was in the Navy, so but at the same time, they have restrictions, so they're not the same. You're not the same as Ohio or Michigan. They beat Delaware State, Rhode Island, Hampton, Towson. But then you start looking. This is where they start getting in their losses. Well, they lost to William and Mary, who's a playoff team. They lose to Elon, it's a playoff team. They lose to Richmond, it's a playoff team. They won at Morgan State, not a playoff team. Monmouth, not a playoff team. And they lost to Villanova, not a playoff team. So they haven't beat a playoff team other than St. Francis. Yeah, great point. Potentially that is in our favor. And, they got a pretty good punter.
Right?
That guy.
We heard Dinkle.
Yeah, we do. We really do. And, I looked at his stats, 42.5 average, long as 63, 7+ over 50 yards. That's pretty salty for a punter.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. The big thing that I'm keeping an eye on in this game is their pass protection, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we killed Henderson in the semifinal game because they could not block to save their life. And we ended up with 7 sacks that game. This year, they've allowed 26 sacks alone again. So that's not good. Like, that's over 2 a game. And that's against probably some way inferior front sevens than ours. So
Right.
I'm really interested to see that. And, Henderson's a cross between Jason Shelley and what's his face up at UND. So yeah, Tommy Schuster. There we go. Thank you.
And yeah, Jace Holley kind of points that out too. He says, I think we see a similar defensive approach as the Missouri State game.
Yep.
Henderson is similar to Shelley. I'd argue that maybe Shelley's a little better, but there's some issues in that team too.
Yep. We do know though that Nolan Henderson is really, really tough. We did see that in the spring. So
he is
guy has some heart.
He's like Brett Favre that way. I mean, that's his game reminded me of Favre, other than he's more of a, I don't know, out of the pocket passer, if you will, than Favre was. And sorry for the Packers reference. Maybe he's as good as Jordan Love. Who knows?
Hey, speaking of the Packers, I found a Packer bar down here. 2 blocks away from where we're staying. It was so much fun. And like,
there's
what
Packer
a good
bars
high-scoring
everywhere.
game. Because every time they scored, they passed out Jello shots. And so that was kind of fun. Yeah. Yeah, it was really fun last night.
Was it fun this morning?
Yeah, I felt great.
There was a lot of scoring.
I felt great. I know. I had my wife and my brother-in-law and his wife with me, who are all Viking fans, and they even had a good time. So, and as Viking fans, they were cheering against the Eagles. So, yeah. Let's talk about their defense a little bit. So their defense, plays that wonky 3-3-5. That we just don't see ever besides against them. And so 16.25 points per game, 3.6 yards rushing, 130. That's not right. 138 per game, right? On the ground and on the air, through the air. 32% on third down. They've accumulated 23 sacks, so that's something to watch. When I was going through their individual stats, there's not one guy. It's really spread out. Like, they come from all over the place, as we know, with this 3-3-5 attacking defense. And the player to really know is Johnny Buchanan, their middle linebacker. 136 tackles, 6 tackles for loss. And then all sorts of DBs all over the place, obviously, if you play a 3-3-5. And then a big D tackle, Artis Hemingway, which is just a great name.
Great name. Yep.
54 total tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, and 2.5 sacks. Big guy, 6'2", 265. One thing I will note, neither their offense or defensive line is huge. They're not Valley size wise. So that's just something that I found interesting, just as the CAA is, considered a top 3 conference, just kind of looking overall size. So, yeah.
They don't intercept the ball much. I mean, well, I don't know. I guess 8 interceptions is not terrible, but I would think that maybe that would have been one of their strong points. It really wasn't.
Yeah.
Like you said, Buchanan's really their horse, if you will. We do have some questions coming in about Adam Bach. I had not heard anything.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that you have not either.
I have not. Just only, in the Thanksgiving video, he was still in street clothes or whatever with Caleb Francel. So I don't. Yeah, everyone else was wearing pads or a shell or something, and him and Francel were not. It looked like so. That's the only clue we have at this point.
I really liked Preston McGoy until about right now.
Yeah, Preston, what?
Yeah, dude, we're not Vikings fans. Guys don't wear purple.
Oh gosh. One thing to note while you're looking for some more questions, Delaware went for 2 twice against St. Francis, and if you watch it, they do the whole stupid field goal spread you out thing. where they move everyone around,
move everyone to one
try to
side,
get
and then,
try to get you overmatched on a single side. It's just annoying. I'm guessing Jimmy has a plan for it, and they won't actually ever run for two because the first time they scored a touchdown against St. Francis and they went for two, it just was a complete mess, their 2-point conversion. So they did convert on one of them, but something to watch.
It shows that they're one of two for the year on their statistics on their website, but that was pre-playoffs. For whatever reason,
Sure.
their statistics are not updated. So
weird.
So they apparently kind of like to go for it. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's a weird amount of attempts.
Yeah.
You know, we only ever, I think our only attempt this year was against you and I, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably.
I don't remember any other attempts.
No, we've gone for it, haven't we? 2 points a couple times. Like it's been perfectly drawn up.
I don't have the card in front of me, but if the card says two, we go.
Yeah,
for two.
right.
That's all I know.
Oh shoot, that's funny.
Apparently, Randy Jacobs in with the news says Stig said on his radio show the Box Day today that it would have been tonight and is possible to play.
Well, that's
so
what
I'm thinking that we probably don't play him unless we need to.
I mean, I'd like to get him in to get him some snaps. I think put him on a pitch count,
or just wait for garage time.
I don't want him in there in garage time. I don't know. I mean, as deep as our linebacker core is too, like I would like to get some of these guys some snaps just to get back in the swing of things, but I don't think they're not going to have to play 100% of the snaps either. So that's kind of cool. So
Jordan, thanks for asking for a weather report. We're not your weather guy.
Yeah, what do we look like, Al Roker?
But I'll tell you what,
Jordan?
Bradley Koenig is. He says weather says sunny, turning to 22, winds out of the west at 12. Will that freeze up the Fightin Blue Hens? I do not know. Brad also had a post about the semi-controversial topic of playoff seeding and who got to host. And Matt and I talked about that. We'll touch on that more. Brendan will have a segment about that, I guess.
Yeah, Brendan's really fired up about it. So we're going to let him get fired up. A good old Brendan rant is always fun. You know.
Yeah. He'll make up some words. It'll be great.
Yeah. Bring your chocolate milk, folks. Get pumped up and ready for that.
And your pocket cheese. Nothing goes better with chocolate milk than cheese.
Yeah, right. Man. Hey, let's pull up do we want to do some predictions on this, and then we can pull up the FCS bracket and do some predictions there?
Yeah, sure. Let's go. What do you think?
All right, so I am predicting an SDSU win, 36-17, something like that. 36-17. Feels right.
I think it's more of a 42.
Oh, okay.
Type of game for the Jacks, and I'll give them 21.
42-21. All right, we're pretty close. All right. I'll take that. Cool. Offensively, I do think Isaiah Davis is going to have a huge game this week. Another really good game. So that's my pick for offensive player of the game.
Just got to give a shout out to Shenanigans Pub. We're doing our pick segment. If you can't make it to Brookings and you absolutely can only make it to somewhere in Sioux Falls, Shenanigans Pub's the place to go because they got a great game day atmosphere and Moscow mules and cups the size of your head. So
for a reasonable price, it sounds like, right?
For a reasonable price once you get your deposit back on the expensive mug. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
All right, should we get into our picks then for the brackets?
Who are you picking offensive?
Offensive. Did you say yours? I'm sorry.
I said Davis. Isaiah Davis. Yep.
Now I think Mark has a day.
Okay. Who's your pick defensively then? I'll let you go defense first.
The Colonel.
All right, I'm going Reese. So
let's
go.
You know, there was someone that wanted him to go off.
Yep.
Like last time. So I can't remember who said that. My apologies to you.
Or maybe Mr. December. You know, Tavir.
Hey, what are you gonna pick?
I'm going Tavir. I'm gonna go Tavir because they're gonna be keying in on Reese. They're not gonna want him to do what he did last time.
We got some score picks from our fans. We got Scott Russ saying 50-17.
Ooh, Scott. Yeah.
Poppins calling that the butter burger. So in that light, let's talk about Culver's. Culver's is the place to get your butter burger. And if we get a 50 butter burger game in the future, we might have a deal set up with them. So look forward to that next year, perhaps. But you can always go to Culver's before or after the game. Get yourself a butter burger, maybe a concrete mixer. They have different flavors of custard every day. Can't go wrong there.
In Brookings or Watertown specifically.
Well, yeah. I mean, Watertown, if you're coming down on Highway 12 or from Appleton,
Yeah.
Brookings, obviously. Thank you, Matt.
Awesome.
I appreciate the help there.
We're just going to do straight up. Holy Cross, New Hampshire. Who are you taking, Chad?
Holy Cross, they've been really good this year. I think they squeak it out, though. I don't think this is a big game, like as far as point differential.
Okay, I'm going to take New Hampshire. I'm really impressed with what they did there.
I think you just want to see them win, so that we can play them.
I don't remember what I said. I want to play new teams this year.
I know.
So, yeah.
is that a logical way to? You pick like a girl. Anyway, with emotions.
Yeah, right.
That's cool, man. For whatever reason. The other teams on our side of the bracket, Bob and Mary versus Garner Webb. Garner Webb had a huge game.
Yeah.
Bob and
I'm
Mary's
taking
been
William
solid
and
all
Mary.
year.
Yeah.
I am too.
Yeah. Okay. Montana State and Weaver. This is a fun one.
I mean, I know who I think's going to win, and I know who I want to see win. So I don't think those are the same two teams.
Yeah.
Sorry to our Montana State friends, but I'd like to see Weaver State win. Although I think Montana State does win.
Yeah. Was that game earlier this year at Montana State when Weaver gave up 4 safeties or whatever?
I don't remember at all. Let's not do Googling.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah.
I don't recall, but I think it was at Weaver.
Watching Weaver in the last game of the regular season, they were so pumped up.
It was in Bozeman. Everybody's saying.
Okay. So they right. Did they kick a field goal at the end against Northern Arizona? I'm trying to remember it all. It's all fuzzy right now.
Yes. Montana State did. Yes.
Yeah. And their long snapper was so pumped. So maybe he's got his yips out of the way. But Montana State, God, I just can't get out of my head how good they looked against Montana. I'm taking Montana State in that one. I'm not looking forward to if we match up with them. So,
yeah, I don't think I said that I think Montana State's going to win, but I do. So officially, I think I picked them, and I'd love to see Weaver make a game of it, and I think they will.
Okay. All right. Incarnate Word and Furman. I want to see Incarnate Word. Yeah, I want to see Incarnate Word.
Yeah.
All right.
Both have good. Yeah, go ahead.
Both have good. Okay. Sac State and Richmond. I kind of hinted at this earlier. I think it's going to be Sac State. And you did too. Right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Sac State. It could be one of the closer games that Sac State's played this year.
Yep.
Although, they didn't look particularly fantastic against UC Davis, but I think that's just
it's a rivalry game.
Right. It's a rivalry game, and Davis was really better than their record implied a little bit this year. They were a really good team, and maybe should have made the playoffs. But, yeah, I think Sac State gets this probably by a touchdown.
Yeah, this will be. I mean, these are all fun games. They should be good games. And honestly, most of the games this opening weekend were fairly decent or entertaining games. So, yeah, let's go to the top side of that bracket then, the right side.
All right. Up top, we got NDSU versus Montan. and Samford versus Sela.
Okay.
And yes, I did that on purpose both times.
That's funny. All right. Honestly, if there's a team outside of us that that can maybe weather the Fargo Dome, Montana could be it. And they might have some confidence now making that big statement comeback against SEMO. SEMO's a hell of a rushing offense as well. So maybe they got some stuff figured out. I don't know. But
I mean, SEMO does have a stud running back,
yep,
but I they
it's
did
not the
not do a
same.
good job. Right. It's not the
Yeah.
same because they don't have the same front
Yeah. Yeah.
5, 7, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And you know, I think North Dakota State runs for like 300 yards plus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sorry, Montana, you're gonna have to really score fast with your quarterback. Potentially, it could happen. It could be a shootout.
Mm-hmm.
But I look North Dakota State to win by at least 10.
Yeah, I'd say 2 touchdowns, 14 plus. Yeah,
Yeah, I
NDSU.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And Samford and Slew or Sela.
Sela Samford. I don't think after the game that Southeastern Louisiana just went through and having to go on the road to Samford, I don't think they got enough left in the tank. I think that's the end of their road. I think Samford's just too good.
Yep.
Which means the Bulldogs will be heading to the Fargo Dome, and I guess I don't.
So you're going straight seeds. You're going with all seeds, Chad.
Am I?
I believe so.
Well,
I picked New Hampshire, and that was the only one that was.
Some might say the committee's not completely terrible.
Yeah, right.
They make some questionable decisions, perhaps, but the seeding's not one of them, I'd say.
Yeah, there we go. Cool. All right. Well, that's gonna wrap us up, right? Anything else?
No, I don't know that we got much else for news.
Yeah. You want to talk wrestling quick? Minnesota duel?
I mean, do I want to, or are we going to?
I mean, we can for a little bit.
Well, yeah.
Some time.
Okay, let's talk about it just a touch.
Yeah, so what happened, Chad?
So what happened is 2 of our studs go out there and they basically don't wrestle up to their potential. That's how I'm going to word that. I think that's fair. I think they'd agree.
You're much kinder than Coach Hahn, I'd say.
Yeah. I feel like he was biting his tongue a little bit even at that. So just a personal opinion, not from my interactions with him, but I do still feel like he was a little reserved. He was really upset. That's what I'm going to say. I think he was really mad and he let on less than how mad he really was, because it cost us the duel, and we should have beat them. They were the number 10 ranked team at the time, and we squandered one, and you don't get those back.
Hot rod.
Some fun in the background. Oh, hot rod. Nice.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
basketball.
That's the thing. You have that chance to really get a top 10 statement win early in the season, no matter what sport it is. We saw the women knock off Louisville. It's too bad, because that could have really built some momentum early on here. But as we kind of saw last year with wrestling, it's not necessarily how you start, it's how you finish.
Right.
But still, you want to win the duels when you can. We have an awesome dual wrestling team right now. So yeah.
And we actually went out and got some better matches out of guys that weren't necessarily supposed to have that. So that really, I mean, sure, their individual match was great, but it kind of puts a little sour on their match.
Sure.
When we were this close to winning the duel, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, ifs and buts, I guess, you know.
Yep. So what gives Jordan asks basketball? What gives with all the turnovers this year? You know,
I'd say youth.
Yeah, youth, right? You know, you lose Baylor Shireman, who did bring the ball up a fair amount. I mean, even last year, you know, when we never had necessarily a true point guard, right? There was a lot of guys that took turns bringing it up or breaking the press or whatever. So and we're a young team across the board too. We're playing some freshmen, replacing Baylor, replacing Doug. It's gonna just be some adjustment, so we'll be all right though. I do like this team and how they look. So,
yeah, our basketball teams. Hendo's proven time and again that he can get them into shape by March.
mm-hmm.
I trust in Hendo to do that, and we'll see what comes out. It feels like it's a youth issue, right? It's just it has all the hallmarks of you're excellent when you're excellent, but when you're off, you're just way off.
Yep. And Steve, good question. Steve Anderson, no love in the polls for that women's basketball win. Yeah, that surprised me that they didn't rebound and bounce into the polls for sure. Beat Louisville, right, and beat Rutgers. Was that the other win that they had there?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of disappointing. Maybe that loss that they shouldn't have lost did it to UCLA. And we know UCLA is a good team, though, too. We beat them because of the Frost effect last year. So not necessarily the players had to make plays still, but the crowd definitely had an impact on that game. So a neutral site, UCLA may just be a better team right now. So, but I still think we should be ranked, if that's your question.
That was my first return to Frost since the Reno started, and I can say that is awkward. It's really strange with no ceiling in there. They added, how the men's room and the women's room had an in and an outdoor. They added block all the way down basically to one side, so you have a single opening to get into the indoor, but then it's also the same opening from the outdoor. It's not as wide. I don't know what the final plan is there, but I think they're probably going to take that wall out and make the room bigger potentially.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of different. Frost had a little bit different feel, which I was sitting there pondering before the wrestling match, like, is that why maybe the Frostbite wasn't quite the same when we played SFA? Potentially.
Yeah, that's definitely a disappointing loss. I mean, that SFA and then James Madison just not showing better. Those are two mid-major teams that we should be competitive with, and we should beat SFA. But it's just disappointing, I guess, right now.
Yes, and as Jim pointed out, there was no bleachers on the top on the east side, which is kind of awkward as well. So we've reduced our capacity. So potentially the Frost effect might be just down a little bit this year. Potentially.
Hey, that's all right.
All right. You need to go to block here.
Yeah. I think I'm about done, Chad. Someone burnt popcorn. It smells like so.
Well, that does not sound appetizing.
Hey, a couple programming notes. Blog notes. If you have not checked out Kyle's article,
it's excellent
about the transfer portal, go check that out because it kind of details the Division I transfer history. Kyle himself, those of you may remember, was a transfer from Purdue. One of our first 3-star recruits, Kyle was. So check that out. He put in a ton of effort and time into kind of what's all happening with this whole transfer portal, and just how the Jacks are going to have to adjust and how they have adjusted. We can see it with the roster. They've really supplemented this year. Last year, they used Oladokin to fill an absolute immediate need. So check it out. It's a good article. You'll learn something new there. And then for me, opponent preview is going to come out Thursday. What to watch will be on Friday. So a condensed week for sure. But I'm going to enjoy vacation and being at the beach. So I'm not going to sit in and write a blog tomorrow. Sorry, guys. So
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Enjoy your time. Enjoy your family, especially. Right.
Hey.
Time with your family.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Anything from you, Chad, coming up?
Well, Dustin Helton wants to point out that they're doing another Mega Live podcast, part 2 after the semifinals.
Yep.
And he also wanted to say, go big, go blue,
go Jacks.